Hey, what's going on people? With a slight deviation from my normal flow of Alien videos, and I realise I'm a little late to the party here, but I've been meaning to engage in the excitement for Predator Badlands with you all, so let's discuss and break down the official trailer. Firstly, I think we all know the drill and understand the motive at this point. Dan Trachtenberg appears very keen and is certainly not hiding the fact that he wants to envelop two particular franchises under one roof. If this were made official, I personally wouldn't be that keen on the idea. I have too much respect for both IPs, and let's be honest, Alien is a far more sophisticated and lore-driven universe to just suddenly throw in some Preds. However, although I really loved this trailer, it feels much like an alternative universe, something you can choose to either accept or refuse as canon when it comes to the merge. It's up to you, and it feels a bit safer this way. More importantly, this trailer just screams fun, thrills, and great spectacle for Predator fans. I would even argue that the protagonist runt Predator now looks vastly more appealing than he did in the teaser trailer, because initially his head shape and hairstyle did put me off somewhat. He's either growing on me or we're simply getting to see more of him this time around, and it doesn't feel like a concern anymore. Much of this newfound acceptance may be because of Dimitrius' elegant performance as Deck. His graceful yet pacey movements are an interesting contrast to the slow, heavy, and methodical mannerisms of any Predator we've seen before. Speaking briefly about Weyland-Yutani for a moment, and this is the undisputed evidence of a franchise merger. We see here that it states Mother 062578, which is referenced in the mainframe AI series, a system used on board space vessels in the Alien franchise. The Nostromo ship in Alien incorporated the Mother 6000 version, so I guess you could place this film in the future, right? If you theorise that the number represents a date registered in code, then it would place the film in June of the year 2578. Therefore, it could be Trachtenberg's way of safely merging two franchises by placing them so far in the future that nobody can complain about canonical issues. Otherwise, I just see it as a production batch code for this particular ship, designated to transport this future synthetic. Now, I like this detail because it gives some credence to a theory I had about this species. It's intriguing that the first time we get to see a predator's ear, it's more of a cavity than a protruding cartilage of outer ear like what we have. Without going into speculation here, I created a theory video a while back that suggested the Yautja species can use echolocation to aid their navigation, which may help explain why their vision is so poor and why they require technology to enhance their sight. I won't explain now, but this cavity could be a form of receptor that translates returning sound waves sent by the predator's vocal clicking. But I go into detail about how they can traverse any terrain so effortlessly, especially considering their eyesight is such a hindrance. Okay, another beautiful vista, for which this film has many. Red lightning, folks, is it just for effect or does it mean something? One thing to consider is when observing a setting sun on Earth, it appears redder due to a phenomenon known as Rayleigh scattering. This is when a planet's atmosphere and its particles scatter away blue light, because it has a shorter wavelength. Therefore, in theory, the red lightning could give us some clues about this hunting ground planet's atmosphere and star system. The planet could orbit a red dwarf star, bathing this world in reddish starlight. Combined with atmospheric conditions, this could cause lightning to appear red, even if the discharge is white. The importance of this is that it might suggest this world to be an excellent candidate for long-term planetary stability and possibly even long-evolved life, making it the hunter's dream location to encounter such richly evolved life forms. It could also be extremely volcanically active and with a thicker atmosphere supporting gases glowing red when ionized. This is less likely judging by the sheer number of large flora and fauna living in this biome, which would all require a more stable and nurturing environment to support their survival. The only part of the trailer I dislike, and it may prove otherwise in the context of the film, is this, which feels like a highly generic CG tentacle fight with numerous plants. Stuff like this bores me, and for some reason, well aside from the fact that it looks anything but real, it really belongs in a film like Pirates of the Caribbean or another kid-friendly action movie. A similar sentiment can be applied to the end of the trailer, where we are teased with a massive showdown between the colossal beast and a giant mech vehicle. I thought his previous film Prey was decent enough and fairly rooted in realism. I just hope that with all the spectacle shown, Badlands tries to be as grounded as it possibly can. What stands out very well are the landscapes and hints of megafauna, which may or may not still exist, clearly showing that some people have put a lot of creative thought into them. I had a few comments on my Alien Earth coverage suggesting that this could be one of the worlds in which the Maginot Craft had been. However, I honestly feel that Alien Earth will be staying away from any form of crossover. I will say, there are two key things that interest me going into this film. One being the developing relationship between the charismatic Weyland-Yutani synthetic and the young brooding predator. My guess is that she will begin to grasp his language. She is an AI after all, and we don't know how technologically advanced her capabilities are compared to those of previous Weyland models. Also, just to see this bizarre partnership of these polar opposites, biological and machine, team up against all odds is such an ambitious and well-needed deviation from the tired formula we've had to endure for the last decade or more, not including Prey, of course. I mean, 2018's Predator was like the salt in a bleeding wound for me. I can never forgive that film. Secondly, much like Trachtenberg's animated film Killer of Killers, we will delve a little deeper into the Yautja culture and learn more about their lore, or at least glimpse more of it. That being said, Killers had more of an epic cliffhanger than what it was able to share with us in terms of the species' history and knowledge. Based on the discussions and interviews, the film will offer fans a lore-light experience. Authentic, emotionally resonant predator culture and language, presented through action and character rather than an information dump. It's lore that serves the story, not the other way around. I like that, it allows room for theory videos down the line. However, with both Trachtenberg's 2 Predator films released this year, and with likely more to come, as I do feel this is just the beginning, there is a deep sense of connection to the broader lore and shared universe just around the corner. Supposedly, Badlands will act as a bridge to Killer of Killers, which introduces concepts like the Archive of Champions potentially tying into Deck's quest for the ultimate adversary. Therefore, if you loved Killers, then there may be some fascinating connective tissue between the 2 films to look out for. We're assuming that this adversary is the big 3-story beast witnessed here. But of course, some are expecting the xenomorph to appear, who knows? I don't think they'll do it, but if they do, will it be the dry xeno with human teeth and a matte finish to its dome, or the slimy, salivating horror from the originals? What we do know is that the film will spend a lot of time on Kalisk, a planet that, by natural design or not, will be the home to many various and dangerous life forms. However, we will also visit the predator homeworld called Yautja Prime. We've seen it briefly before in AVP Requiem, I believe, but only from the perspective of the Predator on clean-up duty when the call came in that one of its kind had fallen on Earth. Boy, did he pick the wrong shift. Dan has already said he never wanted to get bogged down in the politics and hierarchy of Yautja society, but rather preferred to share a glimpse of their environment, customs and rituals. Amen to that, keep it interesting, mysterious and the story flowing, I say. That being said, I hope we get a good understanding of who this warlord is and his significance. He's clearly important and an alpha among his kind, maybe even an elder if he doesn't mind us judging him by his greying dreadlocks. Our protagonist Deck must have gotten a smidge desperate if he decided to abandon the hunter's code of honour and resort to some easy kills with a human firearm. However, regardless of the situation, what this ultimately leads to and builds up is the humanization of the predator in Badlands, and this is one of the film's most controversial themes. You can't have a predator lead that remains ominous and vague, so you have to humanize the alien in this case. The question is, will this have a detrimental effect on how we perceive our favourite cosmic and elusive warrior species after watching the film? Only time will tell, I'm afraid. We are in new territory now. Speaking of firearms and carnage, supposedly the rumour is that Arnold will make an appearance near the end of the film, having already worked with Dan on the Killers movie as a voice actor. As someone who loves Arnie and all of his films, I just don't see this working at all. Surely this will only serve as nostalgia, which is never a good thing, is it? Introducing him would also place the film in today's setting, which is weird. That is, if he's reprising his role as Dutch. Who knows? So I think what's happening here is she rebuilds herself, right? This appears to be a medical repair device after all. There's a lot of spare parts lying around in what can only be described as a Weyland-Yutani dumping ground. The company may have once had an established foothold here on Kalisk, in whatever alternative timeline this film exists in, but there are certainly a lot of broken androids and industrial machinery, some of which still display the iconic company logo. I believe this will be the first Predator film where the deadly hunter actually survives, mainly because he is the protagonist of the story, but if she also becomes whole again, I'd have to assume they both survive and leave this forsaken planet. And you know how it goes, if it's successful, we get the sequel. In summary, however, it looks exciting and fresh, making it a good next step after his last film, Prey. I just hope it doesn't cross the line into mindless action and violence, which was my initial concern during these scenes. Hopefully the story keeps its core elements at the forefront of the narrative, making us feel tense with every encounter. Otherwise, what's the point, right? If you're going to make the Predator the one we follow and root for, he must absolutely be the underdog, and suffer every form of adversity this ancient world has to offer. I love a chase movie where time is crucial. In a weird sort of way, this almost reminds me of a far more fetched and perhaps less serious version of my favourite chase movie of all time, Mel Gibson's Apocalypto. The good news is Badlands will be exclusively shown in theatres on November the 7th, whereas Prey went straight to streaming, if I remember correctly. This is a very good sign, indicating that Disney believes it will do well. Sadly, we haven't had a good Predator film to grace the big screen in a very long time. I'm telling you, with Alien Earth just days away, this is indeed a great year to be an 80s sci-fi and horror fan. Let me know your thoughts and have a great week. See you for the Alien Earth Episode 1 review. Take care.